You're gifted, you're talented, and you have ideas all at once. That there is validity in pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue right here and right now. And the problem is it is more than one thing, and they are all valid. They are all good. You're all passionate about them. You are skilled on them. You're passionate about them. You have gifts and talents on them. You have the capacity to make sure that they are done. But you cannot do all of them at once. So how do you remain sharp in your purpose pursuit? The answer we've said over and over again in this series, it is to be minimalist. You have a minimalist approach in your purpose pursuit so that you can be productive. But the question is, how do we pull that off? How do we become minimalist? What are the things that we can be able to do in order to become minimalist in our approach? Remember, to be minimalist is to take the one thing that you think is more urgent, more important, more deep that you can be able to pursue right now, and you give a wide berth to the others painfully. How do you do that? Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
It will help us a lot to notice that we are in one way or another given an opportunity to do more than one thing. As in, God has given something to us called potential. This potential is something that is inexhaustible. Even in our few years alive, the potential that we've been given is inexhaustible. I think it's Henry Ford or whoever else it is that say that if we could do everything that we're capable of doing, we will literally astound ourselves. If we're able to do everything that is in our potential, we will be shocked. Now the thing is, you cannot do everything that is in your potential today at once. Even if the possibilities are there, you can run, you can sing, you can dance, and you are that gifted. You cannot do all those things at once. But you need to pick something and do it and pursue it. That's where a minimalist approach comes in. That's why you cull other things, you prune other things, and you focus. Focus, by the way, I'm told it's an acrostic that says, follow one course until successful. You focus on what matters now. Not that the other things cannot be done. Not that the other things are bad. They are good. They can be done. You are passionate about them. You're gifted about them. But you cannot do all of them. In fact, if you wanted to be a loser in life, if you wanted to be a failure in life, try to do many things at once. You are not God. And as said in these episodes, that even in the Hollywood, there's nobody who does everything at once. That's why they have very many types of superheroes. You have an Iron Man, you have a Catwoman, you have a Wakanda guy, you have whatever, you have a Rambo. All these guys, they are different. Even Hollywood knows there's no single person who can do everything. And it's a fact of life. And I know Christians, my fellow Christians, will say, oh, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Is that factual? Is that even practical? Are you even doing it? Is it just some kind of affirmation? It's one thing to make these affirmations. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, but you cannot be a doctor and an artist at the same time. Pick one. God is not a confused entity that wants you to be schizophrenic. God is so particular about the way he has structured this universe in such a way that there is a lion and there's a function of the lion. There is the sun. There's a function of the sun. There's a moon. I mean, he could have just made one thing to be the moon, the sun, and the stars, but he didn't. There are stars, there are moons. Okay, you get my point. And then there are human beings, and then there are animals, and then there are plants, and then there's oxygen, and then there's carbon dioxide, and then there's nitrogen. There are very many things. And we cannot do all those things together. We've got to be minimalist in our approach. The same way that there are very many things in the universe is the same way at times we have multi-potential and we can do several things, but we shouldn't follow all these things at once. We should minimalize ourselves. How do you pull that off? Number one, we acknowledge that indeed there is so much to do and minimal time. Because if you do not make this acknowledgement, guess what? You'll be frustrated thinking that you must do everything today. Some people, we find ourselves saying, I wish I had 48 hours to be alive, and we don't do that. And at times we find ourselves burning the candle on both sides. And there are seasons in life where you will need to transnight. I mean, study at night and sleep 4 hours or 5 hours. But that's not the modus operandi for the human being. You're supposed to sleep longer hours so that you can become more productive. You're supposed to have rest, relaxation, and restoration. So my point is that you've got to acknowledge that there is so much to do. Immediately after you've done that, number two, you write down what you need to do. The potential of everything that you want to do. If ideas come to your mind, you don't stop doing what you're doing and start pursuing the new idea. No, you document the idea. But then number three, you think about the idea. You commit it into the subconscious mind. You send it somewhere in a storage in your mind. And every single morning you meditate, you ruminate upon this thing, even if you're not doing it. And this releases you, guess what? To continue pursuing what you're pursuing at this moment in time, while you have not let the ball fall to the ground, even as you're juggling all these very many ideas. Even though you're not pursuing them, you're ruminating upon them, you're thinking about them, you're lending them to your subconscious mind, you're meditating upon them. They are not lost, they are not dying one way or another, so that by the time you get to move on any one of those, you have clarity, more clarity than ever before, and you know what to do, what not to do, and you are moving with good speed. But then let's do this. Number four, what do you do if you're going to be minimalist? Number four, you've got to prioritize the things that you wish to do. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, not all can be done now. I can say that until it's a song. Unless, of course, you have the capacity to get it done through others, which we'll talk about later. But today we're talking about you setting a priority, saying that this is first, this is second, this is third, this might not even come in the next 10 years. That's what you do with prioritizing. After meditating on what has been written down, it is important to determine what is urgent and what is important. What is urgent and important? Those are two things. You know that quadrant where urgent and important, and you say this is urgent and important, this is urgent but not important, this is important but not urgent. You need to find that thing. This is what you do with planning. It is important to determine what is urgent, what is important, what can be done immediately, what cannot be done immediately, what can be pushed to the periphery, what cannot even be thought about. Planning and prioritizing is easy to find out what 20% of projects that you should be focusing on, so that they can give you what the Pareto principle tells us. They can give you 80% of your outcome. Not all the things that you need to do are important and urgent. It's just a fraction, a small fraction. The core 20% of that's what you need to focus on. And how are you going to know that? How are you going to know what the 20% is? There is no scientific formula of knowing the 20%. There isn't. But I can tell you, you can look in your heart and you can do some kind of small research and find out if there is value in what you're doing, and if there is reciprocating from the people that you're serving on what you're doing. Then you focus on that and look at your heart. This is something that you are passionate about also, and now pursue it. Pursue it with all the efforts that you've got. Pursue it with all the excellence that you've got. And without prioritizing, you find lots of time being wasted on projects that yield only 20% of what you desire. And remember, the less the impact, the more the frustration you have in your life. The more you're doing things with a lot of time and resources put on, and the less impact they are, the more frustration grows in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, in your psyche, and they kill your motivation. And I see very many passionate people getting frustrated because of this count alone. There is no priority in their lives, and the things that they're focusing on are not high yielding. Where there are no results and rewards, those are two different things actually. Where there are no results and rewards, disillusionment easily sets in, and you can give up altogether and drop the ball altogether. So learn to prioritize. Learn to date things and to push others even to years from today ahead. It is a good practice that sanitizes your mind and lets your mind to remain sharp. Let your mind to remain focused. Let your mind to remain productive the way you're supposed to do. And if you don't do this, if you don't prioritize, you'll always be feeling in your mind, there is just so much to do and there's so little time, and you're feeling like you're overwhelmed and need 48 hours to be alive today. You don't. God wasn't a fool creating 24 hours and giving us 12 hours to at least work and communicate and have relationships and so on. God was wise. And that's why we've got to be minimalist in our approach. Tomorrow we're going to look at one more thing that you can be able to do if you're going to be productive and remain sharp and focused with your purpose. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.